Namaste, dear students. So, you all have finished with your 10th board examinations, and now many of you might have decided what course you are going to take in your next level, that is intermediate level, that is 11th and 12th class. And I hope that most of you might have decided to take science. And now, if you have decided to take science, then one of your subjects is physics. Physics is one of the very interesting subjects. Few of you may not agree with me, but believe me, it is interesting. So, physics is interesting because you deal with natural phenomena. So, whatever the phenomena happening around you, so that is twinkling of a star, a rainbow after the rain, or the light which is coming from the sun, high tides, low tides. So there are various phenomena which you observe in your day-to-day life. So the same phenomena we are studying in this particular subject. Now the subject can become difficult or it may become confusing if you consider this subject as something other. What I mean to say, you cannot study physics like mathematics or you cannot study mathematics like chemistry. Every subject has its own charm and beauty. So many people, they think that physics is mathematics. Definitely not. Mathematics or the understanding of mathematics is very essential to study physics, but physics itself is not mathematics. So mathematics deals with abstract ideas. That means the things which are only in our thoughts, only an imagination. So that means, suppose if I say 2 plus 3, it is 5. It is an abstract thing. So really 2 exists? No, 2 does not exist. But this abstract science will get its meaning if you attach some physical significance or concrete significance. That is, if I say 2 chairs or 2 boys, or if I say 2 flowers, then this mass will get its meaning. So mathematics is very essential to understand physics, but physics is not mathematics itself. Okay, yes. So we are dealing with the phenomena, or physics is study of nature. So in this very particular subject, we are studying the phenomena in nature, the laws governing those phenomena. So like we have universal law of gravitation. So universal law of gravitation says that every mass will attract the other mass. And that is what the whole universe is bounded together due to gravitational force. And now if I want to explain that particular gravitational force, then I may write that as an essay, or I may write that law in 1 or 2 pages, but the same law can be explained with a simple example, with a simple equation. So that is, I can say force is proportional to m1 m2 by r square. So in this way we can represent this universal law of gravitation with a simple equation, or we can write this as F is equal to gm1 m2 by r square. So this is the beauty of mathematics. And now if I write this universal law of gravitation in Marathi or in some other language, let us say if I write it in Telugu, So a person who don't know Telugu may not read it. And suppose if the same law somebody is taking it to some other country, so that person may not understand that language, because throughout the world we have different languages. In India we have such a diversity that every 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers the language changes, the food changes, and many things will change. So that is the diversity of this geographical world. So mathematics doesn't have any boundary. There is no geographical boundary for mathematics. If I go to China, the same law will be written in this form. So it is very easy to understand for any person. So we can say this mathematics is a language of physics. So through this language we will communicate the laws which are governing this nature. So now similarly, if you see throughout the course, in this physics course, what you actually do, so when you are studying this nature, the process is, you cannot study all the phenomena at a time, right? So how two charges are attracting or repelling, how a current carrying wire is producing a magnetic field. So all these things cannot be studied in a one go. So that means you have to take certain thing, a certain phenomena, and you have to study it separately. Then you will take second phenomena, you will study it separately. And after that you will see that if there is any relation between these two phenomena. So in that way, study of physics broadly, how we can study it, we can study it by dividing this whole universe, because we are studying the universe, or the phenomena happening in the universe, or the laws governing this universe. So now who has set those laws we don't know, but we are going to discover those laws. So far we have discovered many laws, and in future also there may be many more laws to be discovered. So whatever is true today maybe, or whatever is true today may not be true tomorrow, it may be disproved. So every time scientific advancement is going on. So now to study physics, what we will do, we will divide this whole universe into two parts. So that is, one is system and surroundings. Now this whole universe is very simple. This whole universe is divided into two parts. One is the system, another is surroundings. Now what is system? So the system is nothing but whatever is under observation. So whatever thing you are observing, that is your system. Suppose a car is moving on a road. You are observing a car which is moving on a road. So car is under observation, so that car is a system. And all other things, the road, the trees, the buildings, and every other thing is surrounding. Or you take a simple example. Suppose if you have a cup of tea, so we have a cup of tea. So hot cup of tea. So the cup is placed on a table, and here you have a chair. Fine. So now you are observing this hot cup of tea. Now this table, chair, everything around it will become a surrounding. So this is a system. Now here this system will undergo a change. So there may be something which is changing. or change is the law of nature. Suppose if you are attending a class every day and this whiteboard is white. So today you came to a class, the color of this board is white. Tomorrow it is white. Day after tomorrow it is white. So every day you will find the same color of this whiteboard. That means this color is not changing, it is constant. So you will not take much interest in observing this white color every day. But suppose if this color is changing, so today when you came to the class, this board is white. Tomorrow when you are coming to the class, this board is suppose green. And every day the color of the board is changing. Then definitely you will become curious when the next day when you are coming to the class, a thought will be going on in your mind before coming to the class that what may be the color of the board today. So why you are so much curious? Because it is changing every day. So we are more interested in finding or studying the things which are changing. And we'll find some logic between that. So suppose if the color today is red, what may be the color tomorrow? So there may be some governing law or there may be some logic behind that. So here also same thing, in physics we'll study variables or system variables. So this is our system. And now the state of the system will be defined with certain variables. So one is, you know that if a hot cup of tea is kept in surroundings, then definitely the temperature of this tea will decrease. So one system variable is temperature. Then to define this system, you can have one more variable, that is volume. Now this is open to atmosphere. Atmospheric pressure may act. So this is another variable, pressure. Some other variables may be there. Just I am giving you an idea. So how you deal with physics. So these are the variables. Now to define the state of this system or to know how a particular variable is changing, first the foremost thing what is required? The foremost thing required is you should know what is temperature. So this is the basic fundamental of physics. So you should know this particular physical quantity, that is temperature. So there will be a definition. So you have to understand what is temperature. You have to understand what is a volume. You should understand what is a pressure. So once you understand this particular variable, then the next step is how you are going to measure this temperature. The units of measurement are important because everything is relative. If you say the temperature 50 degrees Celsius is greater than 20 degrees Celsius, but 20 degrees Celsius is greater than 10 degrees Celsius. So these are all comparative things. So we'll study what is temperature first. So these basic definitions has to be understood very well. These are the main fundamentals of this particular subject. And in what units or what are the units you take to measure this temperature and how the temperature is measured. Now actually temperature you cannot measure it directly as you measure a length. So length you can see it, fine, but temperature cannot be seen. Temperature can only be felt. So then if you want to measure a length directly you put a tape. So 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter. So that is very simple to measure. But this temperature you can't see. Length you can see it. Temperature cannot be seen. But the temperature will affect the physical properties of a substance. That means suppose if you go on heating a iron rod. So if you heat iron rod, then what will happen? The color of the iron rod will go on changing. So at a particular temperature the color may be red, at particular temperature the current color may be orange, or it may also become green. So that means The color of the iron is changing because of temperature. So even if you are not able to see the temperature directly or feel this temperature with the physical senses, touch or all these things, but temperature affects the physical property of a substance. So we can measure this temperature indirectly. Or if you heat some liquid or a fluid, so the volume of fluid will go on increasing. And if you know, suppose for 1 degree rise in temperature, if that volume is increasing by 1 centimeter cube, then you will have a temperature scale. So first thing is, first a system will be given to you. So find out what are those variables, system variables. To define a system, what are those variables? So let us say temperature, volume and pressure. Then you should know how to measure this temperature. You know how to measure volume. Suppose certain gas is given in a vessel which is in cubic shape, whose side is A, then the volume of that cube is A cube. So that already you have done in your lower classes. But temperature measurement you may not have done, or if you have done, it may not be complete or in depth. So similarly, you need to understand what is pressure, how a pressure will act in a given fluid. Then you should also know how to measure this pressure and the units of pressure. Like we measure pressure in pascals, atmospheric pressures, bars. So these are the different pressure measurement units. And also how to measure the pressure, rho g h. In that way, if you have a fluid column, we will measure the pressure as rho g h. So you should know how to measure the pressure. Then once you know what are the system variables, you have understood thoroughly, and you know how to measure those system variable and its units, then you have certain relation between these variables. So there will be an equation, or you will deduce some equations in this physics which are related with these variables, and there also may involve some constants. So you should know your constants, you should know your variables, you should know your constants. Suppose if this is you have taken a gas in a vessel. So you have some gas in a closed vessel. So vessel is closed. So there is some gas. And you are going on heating this gas. So you are increasing the temperature of the gas. So if you are increasing the temperature of the gas, so this is a closed vessel, then one thing you can say that volume of this gas is constant. So if the volume of this gas is constant, so mass of the gas is also constant. The number of moles, that is amount of substance. We measure amount of substance in moles. So number of moles will remain constant, volume remains constant, and what other things will change? When you heat this gas, temperature will increase, pressure will increase. So then you will find out the relation between this pressure and temperature. Or first, you will define a system with its variables, you will study those variables, and then you will find the relation between the variables. Now this system will undergo a process. So this system is undergoing some process. So the process is constant volume process, where the volume of the gas is not changing. Then once you have identified this is a constant volume gas, constant volume process, then you will find out the relation between different variables. So here the basic governing law for an ideal gas, initially we will consider the system to be ideal, or we will study a system under ideal conditions. So that will be the simplest way to study, and after that we will go on removing those assumptions and we will come to the actual reality. So that real gas will deviate from the ideal gas, then you will study those things. So PV is equal to nRT. So this is the law for ideal gas, or this is ideal gas equation. So every ideal gas will follow this law. So this is the concept. PV is equal to nRT. So then this is the relation. So now when you know volume is constant, then pressure is proportional to temperature for a given amount of gas. So if I take a given amount of gas, then N remains constant, and here we have R, a universal gas constant. Then suppose if he says, so initially at temperature T1 pressure is P1. So what is the pressure? What is the pressure at temperature T2? So you know the law, you can find out. So that is P1 by T1 should be equal to P2 by T2, because P1 by T is constant. So P1 by T1 should be equal to P2 by T2 should be equal to Pn by Tn. So any question which you get in your competitive exam will depend like this. So it will be depending on the process. They will give you the process, they will give you some variables, you have to find out some other variables. Fine. Okay. So this gas may undergo some other process. Fine. Suppose if you have a piston here which can move frictionless, then if you go on heating the gas, then here the volume will go on increasing. So there is an expansion. So if you neglect the weight of the piston, so here atmospheric pressure will be acting, and this is a constant pressure process. So you need to identify. But here number of moles are remaining constant. So all other certain things you have to observe it carefully, and you will be able to solve the problems in physics very easily. And the mathematics involved at this level, that is 11th and 12th level, is very basic mathematics. So you have to be thorough with those mathematical equations, whatever is required to understand this particular subject. Now similarly, I can take another system. So suppose if I consider a system, so I am observing a car. So there is a car which is moving. Now this is under observation, so this will be system. So this is a kinematic system. Earlier case that was a thermodynamic system, this is a kinematic system. So in that way you have different systems. So it depends. What is the system? It depends on what you consider. So taking a system is a pure choice of an observer. So this is a kinematic system. Now to define this system, there are some system variables. So you have to identify the system variables. If you are not able to identify, you will find that in books. So the system variables are definitely, suppose if you are standing here and car is passing by you. Now suppose yourself you take it as a reference, then once you have started observing, so at time t equal to 0, your observation started, so car was here, and after certain time you will find the car will be at some other place if it has some velocity. Then simply by observing you can say what is changing. So position of the car is changing. So at some instant the car was here, after some instant the car is there. Similarly, the speed of the car may be changing. So it depends. So here the kinematic system can be defined with some system variables like you have distance traveled by a car, or position, or you can say displacement. So displacement of a car or position of a car is a system variable. Then similarly speed, velocity. So these are system variables. Similarly acceleration. So acceleration of a car is also a system variable. To define the system, you need these system variables. So now the first thing is you should understand the system variables very clearly. Understanding of system variables is very very important. Now what you do, you might have studied these things in lower classes, but that was not a complete study. So first you have to unlearn and then again you have to learn. So unlearning and learning should be a process. I'll just come to that point later. So now you have to first understand what is distance and displacement, how you measure it, its units of measurement. And similarly, speed and velocity. What do you mean by speed? What do you mean by velocity? Is there any difference between these two terms? Yes, definitely there is a difference. One is a scalar quantity, other is a vector quantity. Then similarly, acceleration and how to measure this acceleration. So after that, you will have the relation between these variables. So these variables will have a relation. They are involved with a mathematical relation, or the position of a particle may be a function of some other variable. So for a constant acceleration, whatever you have studied in earlier classes, if the acceleration of the system is constant, then position of a particle is given by s is equal to ut plus half at square at certain instant of time, or this is the displacement of the particle from its origin. Then similarly, you have velocity u plus at. These are the equations when the accelerations are constant, when the acceleration of a system is constant, or an acceleration of a particle is constant. So first you will identify the system variables, the system and their relation. Now something may be given to you, some variables may be given to you, you have to find out some other variable. So a car starting from rest with acceleration 2 meter per second square, find its velocity after 1 second. So that is nothing but v is equal to 0 plus 2 into 1. So that is 2 meter per second. So in that way, you can find out any of the system variable. So here, there will be a process involved. So sometimes the velocity may be constant. So if the velocity is constant, then acceleration is 0. So simply the velocity at any time t will be same. It will not change. Suppose if velocity is constant, you want to find out the position of a particle, then it is u into t, because velocity is constant. So this is a uniform velocity or uniform motion. The process is uniform motion. Sometimes a car may be accelerating with acceleration, which is constant. So that process is uniform acceleration process. So this is the relation which you have to find out, or the relation between different variables. But sometimes the acceleration may also change. So the relation, how the acceleration is changing may be given to you. Fine. So acceleration is equal to at, or acceleration is equal to 2t. So which we have not considered in your lower classes. So if acceleration is changing, then you will not use these formulas, because these formulas are derived only for constant acceleration. So here acceleration of the particle is changing. At t equals to 1, it is 2 units. T equals to 4, it is 8 units. So acceleration is changing. So in that way, you will deal with the problems, or the study of physics will go on like this. Identify a system, define its variables, understand the variables, understand how to measure those variables, find the relation between different variables. So some variables will be given to you and you have to find out some other variables in a given process. So while studying this, one prerequisite, so one essential thing before entering or before starting the study of this particular subject, the first thing or the foremost thing which is required is the ideas of basic mathematics. Your basic mathematics idea or the basic mathematical ideas should be so clear, so that understanding of physics will become more easier. As I earlier told you, The big essays or certain law, if I want to explain, I have to write many pages. A simple equation will give you all the information, whatever is written on those pages. So simply if I say force is equal to dp by dt, so if I want to measure a force or if I want to explain Newton's second law, I can explain in 3-4 pages, or I can write it in 3-4 pages. But simply if I write a simple mathematical equation, that is F is equal to dp by dt, so all the things about second law are understood in this simple equation. So mathematics has got lot of importance in understanding this particular subject. So here there is a difference between mathematics and physics. Mathematics deals with abstract ideas. So mathematics is abstract. That means mathematics, it is only in our thoughts. As I earlier told you, if I say 10, these numbers. So numbers physically they doesn't exist. They are only in our thought. So like something is beautiful, it is a thought. Something is ugly, it is a thought. So similarly, mathematics is abstract. It is not just an imagination. So mathematics basically deals with the logic. So mostly it won't deal with concrete things or whatever the observations are there. But physics deals with actual observations. That is the main difference with mathematics and physics. But you can use the mathematical abstract ideas for concrete things. Or if you add a physical significance to this mathematics, it becomes concrete. That means, suppose we can have 10. So 10, there is no meaning. So just it's an abstract, it's just a thought, 10. But if I say 10 lakhs, then it has got some meaning. 10 lakh rupees, it has got meaning. 10 books, it has got meaning. So mathematics will get its meaning from the physical world. Okay. So to understand how mathematics will simplify the understanding of these subjects, I'll take a simple example. So the simple example is, you have two rooms. So here you have a door. This is a door from which you can move from one room to another room. So this is room A, this is room B. Fine. So we have two rooms and here we have a door. Now there is a person in room A. So let us say here we have a bell. So this is a bell. Bell. Now whenever a bell rings, this person will move from one room to another room. If a bell rings, if he is in room A, he will move to room B. If a bell rings, if he is in room B, he will move to room A. Whenever a bell rings, he will move to other room. Now suppose initially this person is in room A. Now if this bell rings for 3 times, bell rings for 3 times. If this bell rings for 3 times, then if I ask in which room the person is, then it is very easy to tell in which room the person will be when the bell rings for 3 times. So in which room? So I think he will be in room B, because when bell rings for first time, he will be in room B. Initially in room 1, bell rings for the first time, he will move to room B. Now he is in room B. When the bell rings for second time, he will move to room A. Now he is in room A. When the bell rings for the third time, he will move to room B. So it is very simple. So now we have done a concrete thing. Okay. So we have added, or we have just analyzed with these numbers. Now suppose if I say, in which room you will find this person when the bell rings for 500 times? So again you can do it by a concrete thing, that is take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it will take a lot of time. And if I say more number of times, it will take further more time to analyze the thing. So but you can have an abstract idea. So that is, there must be some logic here, or there must be some pattern. So mathematics is nothing but it is all about patterns. So we'll have certain thought and we'll go on unlocking those patterns which are hidden in this universe. So 500 times, if you go on adding, then it will take a lot of time. So then I will find some pattern. So it is very simple. This person will be in room A by observing the pattern. Odd number, he is in B. Even number, he is in A. Odd number, he is in B. Again 4, he will be in A. 5, he will be in room B. So 6, room A. That means every odd number of times the bell rings, he will be in room B. Every even number of times the bell rings, he will be in room A. So these are abstract ideas. It makes us very simple to analyze this particular subjects. So understanding mathematics is very important to understand, or having a good knowledge of mathematics is very important to understand this particular subject. So now mathematics is very vast. As you go on, it becomes more and more complicated because the ideas are abstract. They are all imaginary things. But at your level, that is intermediate level, 11th and 12th class, you need only basic mathematics. The mathematics is very basic. Or suppose if I say, we have charge Q, here I have minus 2Q, here I have plus 3Q, here I have minus 4Q, and so on. Or I have so many charges. Then you have to find out the total charge. To find out the total charge, what you will do? Again you will take concrete thing. So physically you will do it. So that is Q minus 2Q minus Q plus 3Q. Minus Q plus 3Q is 2Q. 2Q minus 4Q minus 2. So now this is simpler. But if I say, so the charge is placed on certain line like this. So just I'll write it here. So Q minus 2Q plus 3Q minus 4Q, so on till some 201 number, let us say. So that means such type of series of charges are placed. How many? 201. So the next will be plus 5Q. Then after that minus 6Q, in that way. So you have to find out the total charge Q on this line or in this system, if this is a system. Then if you go on adding, it will take more time. Then we'll use the idea of mathematics, or we'll study the pattern. So what is the pattern here? See here. Q minus 2Q minus Q. Here minus Q. So in that way, if you take every two terms, adjacent two terms, the total charge is minus Q. Then you have 201. So how many pairs you will have? will have 100 pairs of 200 elements. You will have 100 pairs because you have to pair it. Every pair has minus q charge. Then the last will be a remaining pair. So that is 201. So this charge must be 201 q. First term is 1, second term is 2, third term is 3. So this must be 201 q. Now plus or minus, because we have positive charges and negative charges. So this is an odd number, so here odd numbers are positive. So the last charge will be 201, which cannot be paired. So for 100 pairs you will have minus 100 q, because every pair is giving you minus q. So this pairing is still 200, so minus 100 q. And you will left with the last charge, and that is plus 201 from the pattern we have found out, and that will be equal to plus 201 q. So this will be total will be 101 q. So this is the charge. So this way we are going to use mathematics to solve the physics problems or to understand physics. Basically this mathematics is used to understand physics. So do you need very high level of mathematics? No. You need very simple maths. So simple, the level at which you have studied till 10th, that maths is sufficient if you are able to apply this maths to the actual physical world. And few more mathematical tools you will have, which you have not studied earlier, but to only some level. So we will not go very deep into the mathematics. For that you have another subject. So there you will study. But here we will take only basic maths. Now suppose if I want to express the position of a particle as a function of time. So if a particle is moving, okay, so particle is moving. So let us say particle starts from A and moves along this line. It is moving along this line. So on this line we have position at different times. Again we have here dependent, independent variables. So position, now this position x is given by some 2 plus 3t. So the position as a function of time. So the position of a particle is depending on time. So this is a function. So this is a this function is written in mathematical form, so which is expressing the physical situation. So now here if I say what is the position of the particle at t equal to 10 seconds, then x will be equal to 2 plus 30, so that is 32 units. Now suppose actually this particle has not travelled for 10 seconds, it has travelled only for 5 seconds, but still if it continues to move, I can find out what will be the position after 10 seconds. So physically it is not happening, the particle is travelling only for 5 seconds. But we have a general equation, you can find out the position of the particle at any time t. So particle has started from here, the origin may be somewhere else, it's nothing but here. So it has started from point A. So you have origin here. So origin is at 2 meters from point A. That means particle has started from this point. And from where you are measuring the position? You are measuring the position from this point. So because why I have written to t equal to 0, time will start from here. Observation will start from here. So t equal to 0. Now t equal to 0, the position of the particle is 2. The particle is here. Now this particle is actually travelling for 5 seconds. It is travelling only for 5 seconds. And after 5 seconds it may come to rest, let us say. But this equation will give you the position of the particle at any time t. If I want to find out the position of this particle at t equals to 10, it is 32. But actually the particle has not travelled for 10 seconds. So then this position is abstract. Okay, if it travels, that will be the position. But physically, that may be possible or may not be possible. So, particle has travelled only for 5 seconds. Now, particle is at rest. So we have to analyze a given problem. We'll be using mathematics, but we have to analyze the problem physically. So physically, this is not the position of the particle. Particle has started from here and came to rest here. Suppose only it has traveled for 5 seconds. So particle is here. So 5 seconds, it will be 1570. So particle will be here itself. But equation will give you the position at any time, which is not physically possible. Fine, you are getting my point? Yes. Then similarly, we will take another simple example where mathematics will give you solutions, maths definitely will give you solutions. They may physically possible, may not be possible, but in physics we have to understand the possibility of certain event. Let us say, if I take a tower, so this is a tower whose height is 100 meters. From this tower, I will project a particle. So particle is projected with a velocity of 5 meters per second in the upward direction. So this is a tower. So from this tower, I am projecting a particle with a velocity of 5 meters per second in the upward direction. So now we have to find the time taken by the particle to reach ground. Okay, so there are different ways of solving this. So you can use, you will be using the formula V is equal to U plus AT. So this is motion under gravity, so acceleration is known, and acceleration is vertically downwards, and let us take 10. So similarly, x is equal to ut plus half AT square with proper signs. Now you can solve this problem in different ways. So one way of solving this problem. Let us say this particle starts from here and it will come to rest at this point. So let us say this point is A and top of the tower is B, and the maximum height which it is attaining here is C. So the particle will come to rest. So first I will find out the time taken by the particle to reach its highest point. So V is 0, initial velocity 5, upward. So upward direction I am taking positive, acceleration is downward, so it will be negative. So final velocity is 0 here, maximum. It will move till its velocity becomes 0. After that it will come down. So 5 minus 10 into t. So let us call this time t1. So t1 will be 1 by 2 seconds. Now after that what you will do, you are splitting the motion. Then from here the particle will come down. So first you have to find out how much height it has attained. So to find height attained, we know the velocity here 5, here velocity is 0. Fine. And you know the acceleration, so we will use v square minus u square 2a s. So final velocity is 0, you have initial velocity. So this minus, acceleration is also minus, so h is equal to u square by 2g. So that is 25 by 20. So height attained by this particle. So that will be 2.5, that is 1.25. Now again you will find out the time taken by the particle to come down. So again you will write another equation. So let us say from C to A, time taken is T2. Fine. So time taken is T2. Then you will write an equation. So total height or total distance traveled by this particle will be, this is 1.25 meter and this 100. So 101.25 is equal to half gt square, because Here initial velocity is 0. We are splitting the motion. Half gt square. So half g, I'll write 5. So it is 5t square. So you can find out t. So that is 101.25 by 5 root. Okay. So in this way you can find out the time. Fine. So you'll get some time, or you just find out by using calculator, or I'll tell you how much time you'll get. Here 5, 2, then point. So 20. Okay. So 101.25. So 5 2s are 10. Then you have 1, 2, 5. Okay. So 101.25. So let us find out, or you find out 101.25 divided by 5, half gt square. So 20.25. So this is root 20.25. So that should come out to be, this is T2, T2, T2. So T2 should come out to be root. So into, so this is 4.5. So this is 4.5 seconds. Okay. So now total time from B to C and C to A. Earlier it was half. Now this is 4.5. So total time will be 5 seconds. That is, I write T1 plus T2. T1 plus T2. That is 4.5 plus 0.5. So that is 5 seconds. 0.5 plus 4.5. That is 5 seconds. Okay. So it is taking 5 seconds. Now this we have used the general procedure, or general common sense from here to here, again from here to here. Now if you use the fundamentals of physics, the proper definitions of displacement, and choosing a reference point, you can choose a reference point anywhere as per your convenience. Now only thing here, just I'll remove this and make sure that we got time t equals to 5 seconds. Okay, so I'll remove all these things and we'll solve this problem by using the basic fundamentals of physics. And choosing the axis is also very important. Point of reference is important. So everything is important. So you can take origin or a reference point anywhere as per your convenience. I can take it here, I can take it here. That is your choice. It depends on how the problem is going to easier. Fine. And if you go on solving the problem, that is a skill, choosing a point of reference. So as you go on practicing, you will get different ideas. Fine. So next, I will take this as a origin and upward direction as positive. So now here there is one problem which I have experienced with many students after 10th class when they come for kinematics class. So in some school, somebody may have been taught as upward direction is positive and downward direction is negative. In some other school, some teacher might have taught the student that take downward direction positive and upward direction negative. Then there will be a confusing among the students what they think. So a student who has taught that upward direction is positive, he always try to take upward direction positive. So it is not like that. The concept is, if this particular direction is positive, there is no there is no specific rule that you should take a particular direction as positive. You can take any direction as positive. Then what is the rule? The rule is, if you take this direction as positive, then definitely its opposite direction is negative. Or if you take this particular direction positive, then its opposite direction is negative. Fine. So you can take any direction as positive and negative. If you have chosen one direction as positive, then its opposite direction must be negative. So in the problem, sometimes depending on the easiness, we'll use upward direction positive or sometimes downward direction positive. So here upward direction is positive. Particle will go up here and again it will come down here. Then the displacement of the particle. Displacement means the distance between initial and final position. So this is the initial position, this is the final position. So it has gone up positive, came down negative. So this will become 0. From here to here, B to C, C to B, displacement is 0. Then again it will come from here to here. That means initial position is here, final position is here. So displacement is 100. And this is upward direction is positive, so displacement is downward, so it is negative. So minus 100. So upward direction, consider upward direction as positive. Okay, so now upward direction is positive, so displacement is negative. Ut, velocity will become positive because I will always choose velocity direction as positive, so no need to write sign for this because it is positive. So that direction I have assumed. Then minus half gt square, because this g is in the downward direction. Downwards negative, upwards positive. Right? So that is the way you have to solve. Now we are using concepts. We are using a proper reference. So then we have an equation. G is 10, so this will be 5 minus 100, 5t minus 5t square. Okay, so if I take this equation 5t square, this side, 5t square, then this will be minus 5t minus 100 equal to 0. So here we will have t square minus t minus 20 is 0. So we got a quadratic equation. So this is a quadratic equation. Y is equal to ut plus half at square, x is equal to ut plus half at square is a quadratic expression. So that now this is a quadratic equation. Fine. So then we have here 5 4s are 5 and 4, this is minus, this plus. So you will get roots t minus 5 into t plus 4. I will write it this side here. T minus 5 into t plus 4 equal to 0. Fine. So, or if you want one more step, t square minus 5t plus 4t plus minus 20 is 0. T into t minus 5, t plus 4. So here now t is equal to 5 or t is equal to minus 5. So now this mathematical equation has given you two answers. Mathematics will deal with the thoughts. Physically they may exist, they may not exist. Mathematics deals with logic. Now whatever the answers the mathematics has given, that physically may not be true. So you have to check. So this 5 can be accepted. And earlier we got t equal to 5 seconds. Here also t equal to 5 seconds. From B to A. It will go up, it will come down. Total time we got 5. In a single equation. Okay. Then similarly now t equals to minus 4. So t equals to minus 4 we cannot consider. Why? Because I have started observation from here. So here I have set my time t equal to 0. So if you take just like a modulus, like a number line, you show a mod x on a number line, whether it's this side or this side. So mod x may be minus x or plus x. So similarly time, here I have 5 seconds, this is 0, and here I have minus 4 seconds. So now I have started an observation from this point. So positive time means I am observing this, but here I have not observed. My observation started from here. So how I can see the thing what happened earlier? That means a child is born today. Okay. So at 9 a.m. a child is born at 9 a.m. Then he'll see something at 10 a.m. He can see something at 11 a.m. Now from 9 a.m. all other greater times he'll be able to see. But he has not seen anything what happened at 8 a.m. So this is not possible. This is not a possible time for this child. So 9 a.m. a child is born, he can see the things at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., any time greater than 9 a.m. But he cannot see a thing which has occurred earlier. So it is also the same thing. From here we have started observation. So any time greater than 0 is okay, but less than 0 is not accepted. You cannot say time cannot be negative. Time can be negative. Why? It can be negative. Yesterday is a negative time. Tomorrow is going to be a positive time. Today, the present state is 0 time. So you have past, you have future, but physically this is not acceptable because we have started observation from t equal to 0. You cannot see the things which had happened earlier. You can see only the things which are going to happen in future now. Fine? Yes. So t is 5. Now see here, you will get t equal to 4 if you project a particle like this. If you project a particle in the downward direction, earlier we have found out from B to C half second, from C to B half second, means going from B to C and coming back to B is 1 second, half plus half. Then remaining 4 seconds are here. Suppose here if I project a particle directly downwards with 5, it will take 4 seconds to reach. Here you can change. So there 100 will be positive. Now downward direction I will take positive. I have projected a particle downwards with 5 meter per second. So I will take downward direction as positive. Then velocity will be positive, displacement will be positive, as well as acceleration will be positive. Acceleration is also in the downward direction. Then this equation will be modified as 100 phi t plus phi t square. So you have t square plus t minus 20 equal to 0. So here the roots are again 5 and minus 4. Fine, phi t minus 4t. So t is minus 5, t is 4. So t equals to 4 seconds will be your answer there. Here it is, this original problem, time is 5 seconds. So in that way, you will be making use of mathematics, but the abstract idea has to be given a concrete idea. You have to see whether this is possible or not. So in this way we have used quadratic equation here. Then similarly we have many other things. Suppose position of a particle is t square minus 4t plus 2, suppose. And if you want to find out the maximum position of this particle, maximum displacement of this particle, because here, so particle is moving in some direction, it is coming back also, or we will take a simple example, phi t minus 10. So x is equal to phi t minus 10. So how much maximum distance it will move along x direction? So maximum, because what will happen, t equals to 2, particle will come to origin, t equals to 2, it will be origin, means before that it may be moving in one direction. So see here, t equals to 0, particle is here, t equals to 1, minus 1, t equals to 0, particle is here. Then now t greater than 2, let us take 3, 15 minus 10, 5, particle started moving along x direction. So now if I ask you what is the maximum displacement of this particle in negative direction, or this is some direction, east, west, north, south, anything. So then what is the maximum distance it has travelled? So you can find out by using maxima, minimas. So here there is no, there is infinite, that is maximum displacement is infinite. After t equals to 2, It will go on moving along positive direction. For infinite time it will move infinite distance, but in negative direction the maximum distance it has travelled in this direction is 10. Okay, so in this direction. So in that way you can use here calculus. So calculus is very important, and that too we need only basic calculus. So we will be studying that integration and differentiation, and also application of differentiation, that is finding out the maxima, minima. Many times you have to find out what is the maximum force acting on a particle, or if some particle is moving with variable velocity, then what can be its maximum speed, minimum speed. So all these things are very important in our subject. Then similarly, another very important quantity is a vector quantity. So in physics you have different quantities. So a quantity which has to be defined by direction as well as magnitude, those are called as vector quantities. Definition is very simple, but we need to understand these vectors, or we have to understand the vector algebra, how to add two vectors, how to subtract two vectors, how to multiply a vector. So there are different set of rules. So those rules we have to understand thoroughly, because we are going to deal with many types of vector: force, acceleration, velocity, all these are vectors. Momentum is a vector, electric field is a vector, magnetic field is a vector. So you will deal with many types of vectors. So you have to be very careful whether you are dealing with a vector or a scalar. Scalar are added simply as your algebraic addition, plus minus, but vectors are not added like that. They have different set of rules. So we will study those rules. So understanding of vectors. Then to understand vectors or to study vectors, lot of angles are involved here. So you need to study trigonometry. Or suppose if you take a particle, suppose if you take a spring and a mass is attached to this spring, if you displace this, just pull this mass and leave it, then what will happen? This mass will come this side, it will come here, from here to here it will accelerate, so it will have velocity in this direction, it will come to rest here, and again spring is compressed, here spring is extended, so spring will pull the mass, and here spring is compressed, so spring will push the mass. So in that way this mass will oscillate. So the motion of this mass will be harmonic, that is periodic, just like a motion of a needle of a sieving machine. So you have sieving machine, the needle will be oscillating in the up and downward direction. So similarly this is the motion. Now this is a periodic motion or a harmonic motion, but this is one of the simplest type of harmonic motion. So this is called as simple harmonic motion. And since it is periodic, we have many periodic functions in mathematics, or we have a periodic function in mathematics, that is y is equal to a sine omega, a sine theta. Y is equal to, or x is equal to a cos theta. So sine theta is a periodic function. Its value will go on increasing from 0 to 1 and 1 to 0. So like that, sine function is periodic here. So this is a sine function. So periodically it is going to maximum, again becoming 0, and it is becoming maximum in other side. So similarly this is periodic. So this motion can be explained by this periodic function. So this equation is very important to explain simple harmonic motion. So we have to be very thorough with basic trigonometry. So in this chapter, or we'll start our physics course with some algebra, then we'll have trigonometry, calculus and vectors. So these are the major things which we will consider in basic mathematics prior to starting with physics. So these are the mathematical tools to unlock the concepts of physics, or to understand the laws of physics. So we'll take these topics one by one. So from today we have started our classes. Now these classes, this is especially for 11th class students, those who have finished 10th class and now entering into 11th. So these physics classes you will get on YouTube, online videos on YouTube. So watch it there. You may get some assignments also. And once lockdown is over, once we get the permission to start our institute or educational institutions, then we'll start with our actual classes at our office. So till that time, you will be getting videos on different topics. Just go through the videos, understand it, practice problems, and I'll recommend few books right now. So everybody buy. One is NCERT textbook for physics. NCERT textbook should be with everyone and you should go through this book. So this is a book which is written in a very lucid form and very nice book, and go through different examples given in the book, exercise questions, NCERT textbook. So 11th class you will get it in 2 volumes. So buy that, a small book. Okay. Then second book every student must have who are going through this physics course, and the physics in board exams, or physics in IIT JEE or physics in NEET is not different. Physics in board exam or board preparation, you have Newton's law. So that same law will be there in IIT JEE course. That same law will be there in NEET course, universal law of gravitation. Does it going to depend in board syllabus and IIT syllabus? No, it will not change. The laws are same. Everything is same. What is different between these different types of exam? Board, IIT JEE, NEET, only pattern. The pattern of examination is different, but preparation for all these exams is one and the same. You have to go through the basic physics first, understand the subject first. Then you can orient yourself for different types of exams. Board needs some explaining. You have to write the answers in a proper way so that evaluator can understand. So you should be a little bit expressive while writing a board exam. And the questions are same questions whatever are there in your textbooks. Question won't change. So you know the questions of the board exams. You have to just go through the questions and answers. And if you understand this particular subjects, writing certain thing on a given topic will become easy. And the approach for IIT JEE and NEET will be objective. So if you orient yourself on objective pattern, then you will be able to write that competitive exams. So the syllabus wise, there might be 1 or 2% difference. That also small topics. But on major, the number of lessons which you have in all this, whether NEET competitive exam or IIT JEE or board, it is more or less same, except 2-3% variation. So NCERT textbook, you have it. Then H.C. Verma, Concepts of Physics. Concepts of Physics by Padma Shri S.C. Verma sir, by S.C. Verma. So you get this book in 2 volumes, so buy volume 1 for right now. And try to solve the problems from these books. So right now, these are the 2 books you can have, and if you need one more book, you can have Objective or Subjective, D.C. Pandey, Understanding Physics, Physics by D.C. Pandey. So the sequence in this particular book is very good and the problems are also very good. So Physics by D.C. Pandey, you get this book in 5 volumes, that is elaborative. So you can buy that if you want, or simply you can go for Objective Physics by D.C. Pandey. So you will get some problems for practice, and problems are good. So you can buy any book, and here you have book for IIT JEE and NEET. More or less they are same, but if you are preparing for NEET, buy Objective Physics by DC Pandey for NEET. For IIT JEE, buy it for Objective Physics by DC Pandey for IIT JEE. And if you want more elaborative, there are 5 volumes. You can buy that book if you want. But go through SC Verma first. NCERT and SC Verma is must for everyone. Okay. Yes. So from today we have started. So concentrate more on the fundamentals and practice the problems. If you practice the problems, you will get more proficiency, and your understanding about the subject will go on becoming more and more clear. Fine. So thank you.